We're so glad you've decided to join us for this week's message from Anchor Chapel in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Our hope is that you're both encouraged and challenged in your relationship with Jesus. Be blessed as you listen to this week's message.
So as I was preparing for this message, actually, Peace on Earth, I really went to the psychiatrist's couch on this one. I'm like, God is dealing with me. He is working on me this whole week about this. And the reason is because all of the worst things about me came out this week while we were at Disney World. So we took our first, I've never been to Disney World. Brooke's never been. And we decided to take our kids to Disney World. And Disney World is amazing. But there's 50,000 people in the park at the same time as you. And I'm like, we're at Disney, and this is awesome. And it's kind of the happiest place on earth, but also kind of hell on earth. So we're there, and we're supposed to be enjoying it and having the time of our lives. But there's people there, and you've got to maneuver people all the time. What are we doing with all these people? Get out of the way. It is just, I'm not good with not having my way and controlling every single thing of my life. So it wasn't really great in that sense for me. It was really cool, all the scenery and the rides and all, even though I can't ride anything bigger than the Buzz Lightyear ride. I couldn't even ride the teacups. I get sick and I'll throw up on anything. They Brooke and Crystal straight up lied to me and said, you could go on Everest. Everest is you would love it. It's going to be great. You'll be fine. I'm literally about to throw my guts up on this thing. I'm like, take me, Lord, now, because I'm just this was it for me. I'm just not good on rides. So this whole thing, it was incredible and miserable at the same time. And what I thought about this is while we're there, the first day, we got a travel agent to book it for us because we've never been to Disney. So this chick, she tells us where to go eat. She tells us what rides to go on at what time. By the end of the first day, I'm like, all right, I figured it out. I got it. I don't want to do anything you want me to do. So I'm mad at this girl the whole week. I'm never even met this person. I'm mad at her. I'm what are you doing telling us that? I want to do this instead. I want to do this. And I want to do my own thing. So while we're there and I'm supposed to be having the time of my life, and it's supposed to be incredible and taking joy in seeing my kids have the time of their life, I'm wrestling, guys. I'm having a hard time. I'm not having fun most days. I'm like, this is like when I talk to my wife or I talk to Paul and Crystal, I'm like, this is fun. I see the smiles on my kids' faces, this is fun. But something in me, I was fighting this the whole time. I'm like, this is incredible. Have fun. This is awesome. I know on one level this is incredible, but the stress of it and the never stopping was it was another side of me that I was what is this? What's going on? And God began to deal with me, and he's like, you need to have peace. You need to rest. You need to enjoy this. This is a gift I'm giving you right now. This is a good moment. And I just thought how many times in our lives that we have things they should be incredible, but because of our outlook, there's no peace because something's missing. And I'll just tell you right off the bat, the first thing and the only thing that is ever going to bring peace is going to be a relationship with Jesus. This is the only way you ever have peace in life. Because there's going to be constant chaos. There's going to be constant things that happen in your life that are chaos. They are just all this weight and this stress of life. And unless you have Jesus, it will overwhelm you. But Jesus brings peace. And there can be peace in the middle of the chaos. I saw this scripture that I thought was really cool. It's a Christmas kind of theme scripture that we all read at Christmas time. But I thought that this was really powerful. As I was reading this, I was just thinking about, because I've noticed this before and I've never really understood it fully. It says in verse 13 of Luke 2, suddenly the angels are joined. So the shepherds are in the field, and then all of a sudden this angel who came and spoke to them was joined by this vast host of others in the armies of heaven. They're praising God and they're saying, glory to God in the highest of heavens. So whenever the Bible talks about heavens, there is the immediate heaven, our sky, our sun and moon, and then there's a further heavens. There's the heaven that we may spend eternity in eventually, that this is the highest possible heavens where God dwells, where the angels get their commission, where they kind of live. This is the highest heavens. God gets his glory and praise and honor there. But it says this, it also says, but peace on earth. Peace on earth to those with whom God is pleased. So there is glory for God all the time. God is always receiving glory. Whether or not you give him glory, he's going to get his glory. But what I thought was interesting is it says that there can be peace on earth right now, in the middle of wherever you are, in the middle of your chaos, in the middle of the tragedy that we feel, there can be peace on earth right now. No matter what you face, there can be peace right now. But it says that there is peace on earth to whom God, with whom God is pleased. Now, what does that mean? That means that peace comes to those who God is pleased with. Who's God pleased with? God is pleased with everyone who gives their life to Christ. All of God's pleasure comes through Jesus. And all of us who are connected to Jesus are connected to the Father, and there is pleasure that comes through Jesus to us. God is pleased with us when we are connected and we have committed our lives to Christ. So every follower of Jesus has the peace of God in this earth. You can't have the peace of God in this earth. In this earth right now, wherever you are, whatever you're dealing with in this moment, you can have the peace of God right now. And I think it's interesting. This is kind of an ironic verse to me. And this is a verse that you hear at Christmas time. But Christmas season is not really known for its peace, right? Like, Christmas is crazy. They put out the Santa Claus around Halloween that starts counting down the days in front of Walmart to Christmas, and it's like all of a sudden the pressure's on. Like, Christmas is coming, and it is coming fast. And like, you've got to get everything just right. You've got to nail all the stuff. You've got to make sure that everything is perfect for Christmas. The meals are going to be just right. Make sure the families are together. Make sure everything is perfect. It is not a peaceful holiday, but there's supposed to be peace on earth for those who know Jesus. Christmas holiday is so crazy. It gets so out of hand that like even for us, I mean, I love Jesus, and I love what Christmas is and what it really means that Jesus came for us, but I also love the holiday. I love the secular side of it. I love all the stuff. I love the lights, and I love the sounds, and I love the mint chocolate cookies, and I love everything that has to do with Christmas. But oftentimes we can get so involved in the holiday that we miss the peace that Jesus came to give. So a couple weeks ago, we were like, we need a new Christmas tree, because our Christmas tree has been like, it's on its last leg. It's been like for years we've been having it. Now we've got like 10-foot ceilings in our living room, and this is a 7-foot tree. We can't be having that, right? Like, this is not acceptable. So we were like, we need a taller tree, so we're going to look for a 9-foot tree. So we go to the store on like the day before Thanksgiving. And we're like, we're going to find this tree, because our tradition is we put the Christmas tree up on Thanksgiving night. Do not mess with our tradition. The holiday is like this. If it will not happen, Christmas will not happen if we don't put up a tree on this day. So like, we were like, we got to have this new tree. So we go to all these stores, and like the one we find is like this Martha Stewart tree at Home Depot, but nobody has it. No Home Depots have it. They got it on display, but nobody has the box. So we finally go to this one. I go to 2 different Home Depots, and like they tell us like, we don't have any more boxes. We only got the display. So we check on the app, because like, we just those kind of people. We're like, well, I don't care if you say you don't have one. I'm gonna see if you have one anyway. So we open up the app, and I find one, and I buy it online. I'm like, you have one. And I go back in there. I'm like, we bought this tree. Sir, did you wait? Did anyone contact you to tell you that the tree was ready? I was like, no, nobody told me, but it says right here, you got a tree, so I want my tree. And she's like, well, sir, you're going to have to wait a minimum of 2 hours. We're a little bit behind tonight. And I just so happened to walk through the garden center, and I saw these huge boxes with tarps, and it had poured down raining that night, but all these boxes with tarps. So I'm like, hold on a second. And I walk over to the garden center, and I take the tarp, and I pull it off, and my tree is right there. So I grab that tree, and I walk through Home Depot. I'm knocking stuff off the shelves, and I walk up to the front, and I'm like, bam, check me out. And she's like, so she's like, okay, you found it. She's like, here you go. So she didn't even like check to see if it was the right tree. I could have got like a 10-foot tree if I wanted, but I'm an honest man and a reasonable person. So I grabbed the tree, I bought the tree, and I go and I throw it in the truck, and I'm like, there's your holiday, Brooke. And I'm like, so we go back home, we set up the tree. It's like this big deal, though, and I'm thinking about this whole time, and I'm like, it's a tree. Why do we care this much about this tree? Because the holiday has like consumed us, the Christmas holiday, and I'm not talking to anybody else. Like, sometimes every now and then, I don't preach a message for like you in the crowd to like, I'm not like, I'm thinking about this person whenever I'm writing this message. I'm not like that, but like this one, definitely, I wasn't thinking about anybody else. This message is all me. If you get something, good. But this message is all me. So like the peace on earth thing, I'm wrestling with this. So I'm thinking about what Christmas is, though, in the middle of all the craziness. The message of Christmas, or the message of Christ, is that we find rest in the finished work of Christ. that we find rest in him. But where's the rest? Where's that even, like it's not stated anywhere. You're not going to look to secular culture. You're not going to look to the holiday of Christmas and find that you should be finding rest. What you should find is there's going to be jingle, jingle all the way, and it never stops until December 26th. You keep on going. You've got to be home for Christmas, or it's not going to be Christmas. It's hectic. It's crazy. There's a lot of pressure. And that's why this year we're trying, and we haven't done a very good job of it. We've been talking a lot about Advent. And what Advent is it's really just, it's observing and it's remembering the coming of Christ. It's creating an expectation for why Jesus came. And it's supposed to begin the 4 Sundays before Christmas, where you remember certain things throughout history, prophecies that were revealed about Jesus, that we remember Jesus is coming, and the reason he comes is to give us peace on earth, so our souls can be at rest, so we can rest in him, in the finished work of Christ. We don't work anymore. He's done it all. That's what you were supposed to remember. It's very difficult, though, but this is what the prophet Zechariah wrote about John the Baptist, his son, who would pave the way for Jesus. It says this, verse 78 of Luke 1, "Because of God's tender mercy, the morning light from heaven is about to break upon us, to give light to those who sit in darkness, in the shadow of death, and to guide us to the path of peace." And even when you think about why do we put up Christmas lights, there's so many things about Christmas that have good roots, but we've forgotten them. The lights, the reason we put up lights, the reason that we put up lights everywhere is to illustrate that Jesus is the light of the world, and he came, like Zechariah prophesied, that he came to bring light to the darkness. But we've forgotten that. And instead, it's how many lights can we possibly put up? But there's a peace that we should feel at this time, at this season. I think it's funny. Zechariah writes, he says that there is a path of peace, that John the Baptist would guide us to the path of peace. The path of peace is Jesus. Jesus is the path of peace. You need peace today, you need Jesus. But isn't it funny that every one of us, every person has their own path that they try to take to peace? We've all got this idea and this image and this thing that we strive for, that this would be peace. If I can do this, if I can accomplish this, if I can become this, if I can have this, if I can have this person, that would be peace. If I end up with this thing, if I work for this thing, then that will be peace. We all have a path of peace that we create, that we make up. But Zechariah says that it is Jesus who is the path to peace. And it's funny that everyone is working towards the weekend, or working towards vacation, even if it's Disney, or working towards a retirement after you fulfill the dreams that you've had on your heart. And we think at the end of our life, if we work hard enough, then we'll have peace. That peace will be there. And every generation understands this. The younger generation, you understand what this means. The younger generation, you are work. You're working till you can find peace. The older generation, you might be working for the weekend, but you are going to be, everybody has their language of peace, something that you're striving for, that you're looking for, that you like, I understand that if I get here, this is what everybody says. This, when I turn on, when I get my phone open and I look, this is what peace looks like. Everybody puts their best front forward on Instagram and they're like, man, that looks like peace. I wish I had that. Let me just like it instead, because I don't actually have. Everybody puts their best foot forward. We want to have peace. We want to have what everybody has. But peace is only found in Jesus. And I think that instead of, it's so interesting to me that we work so hard to get to peace. But the message of Jesus is that he worked for our peace. He did all the work for our peace. The peace that we're searching for isn't found at the end of striving. You will never find peace by you sweating for it, by you working for it. The only peace is found in Jesus, and he's done all the work. Now, when I talk about work, and I will in a second talk about this a little bit more, there is value in our work. But I want you to hear this verse first. In Luke 10, this is really the scripture I want to camp out around for the rest of the message. And Jesus challenges us, and he challenges this one woman in this story, and really he's speaking directly to me. I hope he's speaking to you too in this. In Luke 10, verse 38, it says that Jesus and his disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, and they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he taught. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. And she came to Jesus and said, Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work? Tell her to come and help me. And you know you're in bad shape when you start telling the Lord what to do. Tell her to come and help me. But the Lord said to her, Martha, 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 my dear Martha, you're so worried. And you're so upset over all these details. But there is only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her. You know, I thought this was just this scripture is for me. It's directly for me. God is saying to Martha, you're missing the whole picture. You've got all this activity going on, but you're missing the thing in front of you that Martha's discovered. What is that? What has Mary discovered? Mary's discovered something that Martha's looking for while she's working. I recently got an Apple Watch. I got the Nike version because I'm just that much into Nike, apparently. But I've been running and I've been exercising, and now my goal, if on the Nike watch, on any of the Apple Watches, there is 3 activity rings that you can set to accomplish a certain thing a day. You can set the outside one is your general activity and the calories that you burn. You can set that. So I've set mine to 500 calories a day. That's what I want to burn a day. The middle one is exercise. It's at least 30 minutes of exercise a day. And the inside one is 12 hours of standing a day, which means that for at least 2 minutes of every hour, you have to be walking and moving around so that you're not too stationary. Now, my goal every day is I want to nail all 3 of these rings. And sometimes I will like to double them. I will do as much as I can to make sure, but every single day I am going to nail these. So much so that while we're traveling home from Disney and it takes 11 hours with kids to get back home, I would stop at a gas station at 10:50 a.m. so I had enough time to get the 10 o'clock one and the 11 o'clock one, move around enough just to nail it all. So I get back home and I'm I got all the rings. You know, I'm just make sure that I get them all. But what's interesting to me is I got this and I'm thinking and it really is helping me to be active. And I'm like, but I want to be active, but my focus has switched instead of to do it to be active. I'm I just got to nail the rings. I just got to do the thing. I just got to get the rings out of the way. I don't really care how I get it done. I don't really care if I really burned enough calories or if I ate 4 pieces of cake. I don't care if I'm actually doing something healthy. I'm just nail the rings, just nail the activity. And the funny thing is while it started off as a really good thing, and I think it is still ultimately pushing me to do the right thing, I've become a slave to it. Whereas so what if I don't stand for all 12 hours, or so what if I don't get the 30 minutes of exercise? The goal should be I want to be healthy. But my goal is, instead of wanting to be healthy, my goal is nail the rings. And I think so many times in our lives, we get so focused on just nailing the rings. I've got these things to do. I've got this stuff I want to accomplish. But why? What are we striving for? What are we looking for? What are we working so hard for? Who's it impressing? What are you actually getting out of it? What kind of fruit is it producing? What are we doing? What are we doing the rings for? What are the things that we're trying to accomplish? What is it actually doing? What is it actually getting done? Now, I think I'll just be honest with you, I don't really like this conversation between Jesus and Martha because I value hard work. And I'm a hard worker, and I value getting stuff done, making sure stuff happens. If I'm working harder than everybody else and I'm staying up late, I like it whenever I get this sense that everybody knows I'm the hardest worker here. So I've got this Martha thing in me that I want to work, I want to get it done, I want to do the thing. And I'm not devaluing hard work. Hard work is important, and in a few weeks after the first of the year, I'm going to preach maybe a series on work, on our hands, on the work of our hands, and how God uses that. But I think we can so often get lost in the work, in the things, in doing the rings, that we forget to rest. Because there's value in the rest. Right now, as we celebrate Jesus and as we look forward to Jesus, and 14 days away from now, we're going to have Christmas morning, and it's going to be hectic and crazy, and you're going to be driving all over town, and you're going to be opening up presents, and some of the presents are going to be good, and some of them won't, and you're going to be happy, and their kids won't be happy, and then somebody will be fighting over toys and all this, and it's going to go to pot right away. it's going to be crazy because the secular thing is going to take over. We have to be incredibly intentional about making sure that we rest in Jesus this season, during this time. We've got to look for rest. There's a massive difference between laziness and rest. These are not the same thing. There can be laziness, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about resting in Jesus, resting in the finished work of Jesus. This dinner that Martha's doing, it was important. Like they needed to eat. This was part of the night. But she was missing the moment. She was missing the opportunity with Jesus. Right now in that moment, Jesus was teaching and Martha was listening. But right when Jesus was teaching, while he's speaking, Martha decides, well, maybe he'll be impressed if I do this great dinner. Maybe he'll be impressed if I do this great thing. Jesus isn't impressed with your work, though. He's impressed with our ears listening, with us hearing his voice and then acting on that. Psalm 127 says this in verse 1 of 127, unless the Lord builds a house, the workers who build, the work of the builders is wasted. I would hate to have that happen, to have me do all the rings to get everything done, but then have it be wasted. Unless the Lord protects a city, guarding it with sentries will do no good. It is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late night, anxiously working for food to eat, for God gives rest to his loved ones. God gives rest to us. And we can trust God that even when we stop working, he's still working. So often, I like to take things into my own hands, and I think, if I'm not doing something, nothing's getting done. But that's not true. Like it's not dependent on me, how well I prepare a message or how well I communicate it. When God works in your heart and encourages you to step out and do something in obedience to the word that you've heard, I could never take credit for it, even though I would really love to. God is the one who does the work that we could never do. So when we stop working, God is still working. And whenever we stop worrying about something, God's still concerned about that. Whenever we rest, God doesn't. Whenever we sleep, God doesn't. God is always moving. He's always at work. But we always feel like we've got to do something. We've got to make something happen. While we're at Disney, there's like this random, every now and then a parade will start. So we'll be on this ride or be walking around, and all of a sudden you hear this music, and these floats start coming down the street, and it's just like this big old thing, and like all these characters come out, and they start doing this parade. Well, one big parade started one day, and I'm like, we notice it from pretty far away, and we're like, we've got to get down there. So we get down there in time to catch like the middle of it, but I look down at the front of the parade, and I notice that like the Beast and Belle are on the front of the first float, and I'm like, we've got to go see that, because like we didn't own Beauty and the Beast, so the kids had never seen it, and we recently bought it, and like Judah loves the Beast. He thinks he's the coolest. My 2.5-year-old son, he's like, why are they mad at the Beast? And I'm like, well, I mean, if you saw a beast like that, you'd probably be scared too, right? Like you'd want to, make sure he doesn't harm anybody. He's like, no, the Beast would be my friend, right? He tells me this, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, you're the awesomest kid in the world. Like, sure, you'd be your friend. So he loves the Beast. And Brooklyn, of course, loves Belle. And I'm like, okay, I've got to get a picture of this and take these kids up there. So I literally grab Brooklyn by the hand, and like Brooke is like pushing Judah in the buggy, and which I would like never go to Disney in a buggy. So like I grab Brooklyn by the hand, and I'm literally running through people. I'm knocking old people down. I'm pushing kids out the way. I'm like, get out the way. The Beast is there. I got to get the photo. So I'm like, I run down, and we're like, we are just like booking it. And we're like running through people. We finally get up to the front, and I try to get Brooklyn on my shoulder, and she's like scared. So I'm like, get down, girl. I'm like, I take out my camera, and I'm like, I got to get a picture of this. You stand there. I'm going to show you this picture later. So I'm like, I get the camera out, and I go ahead, and I snap the photo of the Beast, and this is the photo I get. My camera malfunctions in the moment when the Beast passes right in front of me, and I told Brooke, I'm about to throw this camera in the garbage. I'm like so mad, because like all of a sudden, like I had this thing just like tweaks out on me. I'm like, what in the world? And I turn around, and Brooklyn's just standing there. She can't see anything, and I'm like, and I don't have a photo either. I'm like, well, you have to take my word for it. The Beast was there. But like, so that happened. I'm like, got to get the photo instead of like actually let my kids see this in real life. And then like the night they do like this big fireworks thing, which I like can never watch fireworks again. It was so awesome. You have to spend like $50,000 to get that kind of show. But we're there and we're like, we're kind of in a good spot, but I'm like we're all there and we're waiting for like 30 minutes for this thing to show, and everybody in the park is right there. 50,000 people in the park, all in the same spot. And I'm like, I need to get in the center of Main Street and like get this perfect photo. I've got to get the alignment right. I've got to have like everything perfect. I've got to have the castle and all this stuff. I tell Brooke and she's like, whatever, go do your thing. So I'll walk out in the middle of the street and I'm just like snapping it. While I cut through people. I'm standing in front of people. I'm like, I don't care about nobody else. I'm like, I got to get the shot. So I'm like, I get a bunch of shots, and I get these cool shots of the castle, and I look over and like Judah's on Brooke's shoulders and like they're over there watching, and I'm just like, I nailed these photos. I'm just like, these things look good. So I walk back over there. I'm like, babe, I got some good ones. She was like, you like that? I wish we could have enjoyed it with you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, totally forgot my family was here. But like, the whole time I'm in Disney, I had to keep thinking that. I'm like, I've got to get the photo, or I've got to make sure the kids hurry up and come and see this. And I'm like, you're going to miss the ride. And I'm like, forgetting, they want their dad to love them too. And I'm just like, I'm missing out on all these great family moments because it was so rushed and it's so fast-paced, and I'm just like, I'm missing the important things to get the thing done, to like work and to like make something happen. And I'm thinking, you're gonna thank me for these photos later. And they're like, and they're gonna be thinking, were we actually there? Because I don't remember seeing any of this. Because I was just moving so fast. I was just like, I got to get this thing. It's so often, man, it's not just Disney for me. It's like all kinds of things. I'm just like, I'm always moving. I'm always doing something. I've got to get something done. And while there's value in hard work, there's value in rest. And we need to learn to rest. And we need to learn to look our kids in the eyes and look our friends in the eyes and spend time and listen and value those conversations. Rest in the relationships that God's given us. Rest in the person of Jesus. Actually, this was actually pretty funny how this ended up happening. The it, though, that Mary discovers is something that Martha is looking for while she's working, but she doesn't get it. Here's the it. Mary knew there needed to be a dinner, but she understood more. She's like, Jesus is in the room, and he's talking to me. I'm going to sit right here, and I'm going to be a sponge. And I'm going to listen to everything he says. And as Jesus is speaking, Mary feels and she senses the deepest peace that she's ever felt in her life. Mary's getting that. While at the exact same moment, Martha is sweating in the kitchen. She's running all around. She's doing all this stuff. Jesus is in the house, but she's in another room. She's missing the peace in the living room because she's working in the kitchen. And I thought, in just the way that you view life, in the way that you perceive Christmas coming up, in the way that you perceive everything in your life, you can either choose to live in peace in that moment by being at the feet of Jesus, or you can choose to be working and sweating your tail off in the kitchen. While we were at Disney, I happened to catch these photos that told this really funny story. Brooklyn got this little bubble wand, and she got this bubble wand, and she's just like going to town, bubbles everywhere. So we come out, we're at Epcot, and we come out of the Soar and Ride, and Brooklyn is just skipping along with the bubble thing. This is the first one. So you can see she just is chasing these bubbles, and everybody's just kind of checking it out. Well, she happens to run right in front of Judah. And as she runs right in front of Judah, Brooke has to slam on the brakes, and we had just taken off the front section to hurry up and try to get Judah to get in and out of the car quicker. Judah falls down on his face, and Crystal is having the time of her life, apparently. Thanks, friend. She's just cracking up, laughing at my son's misfortune. And then Brooke helps him and gets him back up, all this stuff. It's this big dramatic time for Judah. But I want you to notice something in all four of these photos. Just go ahead and click through all of them again. I want you to see something. Brooklyn never notices a thing. This is who Brooklyn is. she's oblivious to like the craziness. She's oblivious to the chaos and the stress that in this situation she basically caused. But I'm like, she just doesn't even see it. And I thought, what a picture of peace. That all this stuff can be going on around you. That all this craziness could be happening in your life. And it's just bubbles. It's all good. It's great. Because it's an outlook thing. The way that when you understand who Jesus is and what he's come for and what he desires to do in us, then we can live our life in peace because that's what he longs to give us. You can be in the kitchen working your tail off, or you can be in the living room at the feet of Jesus. What are you going to do? In Matthew 11, verse 28, Jesus says this, one of my favorite verses. I think this is where peace is. Jesus then said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I'm humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Jesus says, you want rest? You need rest? You need peace? Come to me. Let's trade. Let's trade the burden that you carry. Let's trade the weight. Let's trade the backpack of bricks that you have. Let's trade that, because what I have for you to carry is very simple. It's just walk with me. When I begin to speak, just sit at my feet. You don't have to work for the dinner anymore. Did you know who I am? I can multiply the fish and the loaves if I want. You don't have to slave in the kitchen. I can do all the work. This is a moment to just hear from me. So Jesus is saying, come to me, everyone you're weary, you're heavy-hearted, you can't find peace, come to me, and you'll find it. Yeah, I thought about this. I'm like, every time that I go to a restaurant, I'm like, Brooke and we're both kind of like this, and I rubbed off on her, so I'm sorry for this, but like, we'll go to a restaurant, and like, we could be in and out in 30 minutes. Because like we'll be there, and we'll just be like the waiter will come for the first time, and he's like, hey, how are you guys doing tonight? Introduce himself and everything, and just like, we're doing great. This is what we want for the water, and this is what we want for the appetizer. He's like, do you guys know what you want? I'm like, Brooke, do you know what you want yet? Because I know what I want. Don't say you don't know what you want, because he's here right now. There's our chance to get our order in, because if you don't, you're going to have to wait another 10 minutes for him to come back, and I'm just like, hurry up, we got to get our food. Why? I don't know. Am I hungry? No, I'm just like, he might not come back when I want him to come back. When I want him to come back, I want him to be here right now. So I'm just like, let's hurry up and get it. Come on, get it. And then I'm like, let's eat. What are we doing next? I don't know, but we got to eat because we got to go somewhere. Where are we going? I don't know, but we got to go because we can't be here. So oftentimes, while we're at dinners with friends, I'm always like, where's the waiter? Where's the check? Come on. Like, man, we've been sitting here for 10 minutes. What do you want me to do? Like, talk to people? You want to, like, look at my friends? What do you expect from me? I'm here to eat. Bring me my food and get me out of here. I'm just like, I'm like the least patient person in the world. And I'm sitting at this dinner the other night while we were at Disney, and like the waitress that hasn't like come by in a while with the desserts. I'm just like, what's wrong with her? Is she mad at us? Did somebody say something? I'm like, I want my dessert. Like she went to them twice, but she didn't. I'm just like, I'm so frustrated. And I'm just like, I'm missing this moment. Like our kids are having fun. Our friends are right here. I'm just like, we're missing it. Because we're always looking for the next thing. And you'll never find peace when you're always looking for the next thing. Be where you are. You can only steward today. You can't steward tomorrow because you don't control it. It may change overnight. All you do is steward today. All you can be responsible for is right now. You can plan for the future and have hopes and dreams and prepare, but you can't do anything with it because it's not here. You have today. Live in peace today. Make the most of the friends and the family and the church and your relationship with Jesus right now in this moment. I actually saw a video a couple weeks ago, right before we left, of this guy. He's a leadership coach. His name is Simon Sinek. And he's a great leadership coach. He's not a believer, so there's a couple things in here that like he'll say that I don't really endorse. But he gives a really good illustration of where this generation is and how impatient we are. I want you to hear this wisdom from Simon.
Some people, quite by accident, discover alcohol and numbing effects of dopamine to help them cope with the stresses and anxieties of adolescence. Unfortunately, that becomes hardwired in their brains, and for the rest of their lives, when they suffer significant stress, they will not turn to a person, they will turn to the bottle. Social stress, financial stress, career stress, that's pretty much the primary reasons why an alcoholic drinks, right? What's happening is because we're allowing unfettered access to these dopamine-producing devices and media, basically it's becoming hardwired, and what we're seeing is as they grow older, too many kids don't know how to form deep, meaningful relationships. Their words, not mine. They will admit that many of their friendships are superficial. They will admit that their friends, that they don't count on their friends, they don't rely on their friends, they have fun with their friends, but they also know that their friends will cancel on them if something better comes along. Deep, meaningful relationships are not there because they never practice the skill set, and worse, they don't have the coping mechanisms to deal with stress. So when significant stress starts to show up in their lives, they're not turning to a person, they're turning to a device, they're turning to social media, they're turning to these things which offer temporary relief. We know, the science is clear, we know that people who spend more time on Facebook suffer higher rates of depression than people who spend less time on Facebook, right? These things balanced. Alcohol is not bad, too much alcohol is bad. Gambling is fun, too much gambling is dangerous, right? There's nothing wrong with social media and cell phones. It's the imbalance, right? If you're sitting at dinner with your friends and you're texting somebody who's not there, that's a problem. That's an addiction. If you're sitting in a meeting with people you're supposed to be listening to and speaking, and you put your phone on the table, face up or face down, I don't care, that sends a subconscious message to the room that you're just not that important to me right now, right? That's what happens. And the fact that you cannot put it away is because you are addicted, right? If you wake up and you check your phone before you say good morning to your girlfriend, boyfriend, or spouse, you have an addiction. And like all addiction, in time, it'll destroy relationships, it'll cost time, and it'll cost money, and it'll make your life worse, right? And then my favorite is like when there's a cell phone there, and you go like this, you go. It rings, and you go. I'm not going to answer that. Like, Mr. Magnanimous, you know? When you're out for dinner with your friends, like, I do this with my friends. When we're going out for dinner and we're leaving together, we'll leave our cell phones at home. Who are we calling? Maybe one of us will bring a phone in case we need to call an Uber or take a picture of our meal.
That's what I was saying, come on.
I'm an idealist, but I'm not insane. You know?
Not a heathen.
I mean, it looked really good. We'll take one phone. And so it's like an alcoholic. The reason you take the alcohol out of the house is because we cannot trust our willpower. We're just not strong enough. But when you remove the temptation, it actually makes it a lot easier. And so when you just say, don't check your phone, people literally will go like this. And somebody will go to the bathroom, and what's the first thing we do? The phone. Because I wouldn't want to look around the restaurant for a minute and a half, you know? But if you don't have the phone, you just kind of enjoy the world. And that's where ideas happen. The constant engagement is not where you have innovation and ideas. Ideas happen when our minds wander and we go, and you see something, I bet they could do that. That's called innovation, right? But we're taking away all those little moments, right? You should not, and none of us should charge our phones by our beds. We should be charging our phones in the living rooms, right? Remove the temptation. You wake up in the middle of the night because you can't sleep, you won't check your phone, which makes it worse. But if it's in the living room, it's relaxed, it's fine. But it's my alarm clock. Buy an alarm clock. They cost $8, right? I'll buy you an alarm clock.
So he brings up some really interesting truths that, like, and even though his solutions are, you know, their willpower and they're just remove the temptation, that kind of thing, which is, they're all good practices. I think that what he brings to the surface is that we so easily will get stuck in, like, is there something better than this? Is there something else besides this moment? Because this moment right here, it doesn't have the right filter on it. Now, this moment right here, it doesn't have the right kind of, it doesn't have the audience that I want. So maybe if I had this social media experience instead, then I could have more superficial things that will actually make me feel better about this. And I think that, you know, what he's saying is not just a millennial generation thing, but it is, so many of us have gotten so caught up in the media, in the production of our lives, that we miss the things that matter the most. We miss the people that are right in front of us. We can't live in peace because we're always thinking, what if something was better? What if this was happening instead of this thing that I'm in right now? And we've lost a sense of peace. Right now I'm reading a book from Judah Smith called How's Your Soul? It's a really good book. And at first I was kind of like, soul? Like, what's this really about? But like, it's very good. It's been very good for me. He says this in the book, maybe what we are here for is not to be so important, successful, awesome, and busy that we don't even have time to eat. Let's enjoy God and enjoy his creation. And I just thought that was a really good theme for me, to slow down, to have peace, to like rest in the moments when our family gets together and we have dinner, or whenever Christmas morning is here, Christmas Day, and you've got all the dinners and everything is happening, like look people in the eye and focus on people instead of like nailing all the rings, instead of getting all the things just right. I want to ask you today as the band comes up and we get ready to close, I want to ask you, what big dinner are you working on? Like Martha right now, what big dinner are you working on? What is it that has kept you from peace? What is it that you have strived so hard to create your own path of peace, but is just not working? You know it's not working. You can feel it's not working. It's the big dinner that you've been working on. It's, man, if people would only end up tasting this dish that I'm about to make, I'm working towards something, and we miss the right now. What big dinner are you working on that is forcing you to miss the moment with Jesus, to miss the peace that he gives? Because we don't impress Jesus with the things that we do for him, but by our dependency on him. I think that we can all be honest and say, you know what, I'm just not quite as dependent on Christ as I should be. I really work hard to make sure that all the dreams that I have, or that we just got out of this Dreamers series, and like I love the series, and I think we should work towards our dreams. Obviously, we wouldn't have done a whole series if we didn't believe that, but sometimes like we can be so focused on the future that we miss the now. We can be so focused on what's to come that we don't have peace where we are right now. And I think as far as Jesus followers go, there's no room for stress. Jesus didn't go to the cross so that you can still be incomplete. Let's be complete in him. Let's have peace in him. Jesus says this in John 16. I have told you all this, and what he says by all this is he ends up saying, like, I'm going to be betrayed. I'm going to go to the cross. I'm going to die for everyone. You're going to be persecuted. It's going to go pretty bad. And he says, but I've told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth, you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart. I've overcome the world. Jesus is saying that there is nothing in this life that you can face that is worth a heart attack, that is worth stress, that is worth you losing it over, that is worth you ruining relationships because you're pursuing this, or you're so stressed or so concerned about this. There is no dinner big enough to be that concerned about that you miss out on Jesus' teaching in the living room. Jesus wants to teach us. He wants to give us peace. And I think we can all learn from that today.
Thank you so much for joining us for this week's message from Anchor Chapel. If you're interested in supporting the ministry of Anchor, you can easily do so by visiting our website, anchorchapel.com. You can also follow us on social media at Anchor Chapel. God bless, and we'll see you next week.